Okay, now is the second portion of the Spruce inspired meal here. This is the dinner, but I could just eat oysters all day long. And when the weather and the waters are cold like this is when the oysters are super delicious. And we use them all the time. We use them. We have this whole beautiful table that we set up that has holes drilled in the bottom of it. With this forge fan that we start a fire with evergreens like spruces or hemlocks, and it pulls the smoke under the table and fills up these beautiful cloches. And I have so many cloches. So you can do this inside of a grill or whatever you want to do. We're going to do it right inside today because we're a little bit risky. So let's get right into it. We have here our pemmiquids. These are out of Maine. First, before we even get into shucking the oysters, we're going to take a piece of this soapstone. You could use granite, tile, anything thick. The goal is here it'll stay cool while we're smoking the oysters. I'm going to set that down. We're going to just use salt. You can use any kind of salt here. We just have our standard sea salts. You could use coarse salt, whatever. The beauty about this is this will go directly into the vessel that we're using to smoke, and you can have smoked salt afterwards you could garnish things with, so a little dual purpose. So for right now, we put this on here. This will, when we go to shuck the oysters, we'll set them directly onto the salt, and it keeps them from flipping all over the place, falling down. Now we're going to get into shucking our oysters. So a couple things you want to identify. So with these, what you want to find, this is the top. You'll see this is a sort of convex, sort of concave, the dished out portion at the bottom. You're looking for the hinge. You'll see right where the two ends meet, and that's going to be your key to get in. So you can use a paring knife. This is a specific knife. That's an oyster shucking knife. This is going to give you the best results. Now, it's very important before you ever use oysters that you need to actually wash them and scrub them because they're going to have dirt and crevices everywhere. So what you're going to find here is the fulcrum, right where the joint comes together. So right in there, you already see there's a little bit of dirt. So if you can get in there, even after scrubbing, and get that out, because there's nothing more disgusting than getting into an oyster and having there be dirt or broken shells. So inevitably, you're going to have some of that cracking there. But oysters are super sexy. Broken shells and dirt are not. So you kind of get in there, rocking your knife back and forth. Take your time here. Not looking to rush. Take your time. You'll start to feel as you're pushing in gently and wiggling that your knife will go in. Again, wipe the blade off. You'll start to see you've exposed a little bit more dirt. Use your knife. Get in there. Wipe that off. Push that stuff to the side. The shell off. Now, you're going to want to push your knife in this way with a bit of an upwards tilt, rocking back and forth to actually disconnect that muscle. And there's a muscle on the bottom that you'll work under and scoop out like the pit of an avocado or something like that. I'm going to put the knife back in, kind of go up, gotten up. I feel the top of the shell, raking back and forth, push all the way through, remove that muscle, remove that top shell. Done. Again, clean your knife, working very cleanly here. Now you have this muscle underneath here. So we're going to go under and scoop and feel the knife working against the shell. Just to make sure that you have it disconnected, you're going to want to take it and kind of flip it over like that and expose the underbelly. Placing your oysters right on top of your salt-coated rock here. And you're going to keep moving on along down the line until you've shucked all of your oysters. Okay, so now we're going to start talking about the accompaniments that go along with oysters. Classically, it's a mignonette sauce, which is vinegar, typically like a champagne vinegar, crushed black pepper, maybe some sugar, maybe some other spices. But since we do a lot of preservation here, we're constantly pickling. We make all of our own vinegar. We put up all of our own pickles. We want to start going through all of our pantry. So what we have here is some pickled French breakfast radishes. We made these back in the spring, so now we're going to start peddling through those. Curry pickled cauliflower. Chives for some color, because this time of year there's varying degrees of just brown out there. Microgreens, because they're pretty. And lastly, we're going to put some fresh radishes on top to give it a little bit more of a contrasting radishy flavors. So a nice little chop on some of the cauliflower. I'm going to knife through that again. Work cleanly as you go. Push that one mound, the corner by itself. Now we're going to go right into the radishes. Nice and thin slice, a nice little tidy stack. This direction, a few swipes. Keep them together. Again, all go in the same direction. Run it through one final time. Nice, beautiful little squares. You can push this pile right over with your cauliflower. Go for equal parts, really. Just for color and contrast again. Your chives now, you want to work with a dry surface so they're not sticking all over the place. So now we're going to go ahead and again drag these chives over there to that little pile. Take some radishes, some thinly sliced radishes. If you have a mandolin, you could totally use a mandolin here. Okay, so here we are, the fun part, smoking the oysters. Clutch for this preparation is you gotta break into Grandma's silver closet. The nicest silver tray you can. No, I'm kidding, don't do that. You can do this in a grill, in a hotel pan, there's various ways. The most important thing we're focusing on is not making sure that the oysters don't come into direct contact with the flame. We're not looking to cook them here. We're looking to let them just absorb that smoky flavor since they're so rich on their own. So earlier when I was talking to you about the cocktail, about holding on to your sprigs, this is where I hope you listened to me. I hope you were a good little viewer. We put this down, it's kind of like kindling in the bottom. And you have your other needles that you're gonna sprinkle right on top. You can go to the grocery store or a cooking goods store and get a butane, one of those little like creme brulee torches. Don't mess around with that. Just go to your hardware store and get yourself a serious torch like this. It'll make your life so much easier and things will go by really, really fast. Okay, so what you're gonna do is get a good bed of smoke going first. Lastly, the thing you're gonna need is the cloche. Once we get a good bed of fire going on here, we're gonna gently put our oysters that are on top of the soapstone on top of the spruce, and then we're gonna cover it, and then we're gonna let it smoke for about a minute and a half, not too long. Okay, the last part of this dish is garnishing and finishing the oysters. After we've been laboring all day over it, it's important that we serve it in a way that we're both proud of and our guests are amazed with. So we have here one of our boards that we use quite a bit, black smooth river rocks. So we're gonna place our oysters directly from our salt that we smoked over right into there. And the great thing about these rocks is that it sort of acts as a cradle just like the salt did. So we'll kind of stack these to one side. Maybe one there. Our little pickled vegetables here that we had. A little garnish of that. Kind of all over the top, almost like a streak right down the center is good for this. And the next thing, fresh radishes on top. Two is good, sort of overlapping. Next we'll take a little bit of that pickled juice. Kind of lay that in there so it sort of plays nicely with the natural ocean brine. A little bit of sweetness, definitely black pepper, a little coriander, a little red chili flake for a little bit of heat. And to throw in a curveball, like I do, is a little bit of this aioli, or I could use a simple mayonnaise as well, but it's very simple to make your own. So I like to do a good dot of that in the back here. And finally, just a few microgreens. And there you go. There's your spruce smoked oysters. Tell me how beautiful is that? Very nice. Who would have thought eating your trees could be so delicious?